Welcome to SAS Daily Podcast here on WBLE, Central Ohio's Classic Hits. We're blessed enough to have an interview with John Noble. He's wrestled for Impact one time, and he's a legend in OVW, legend here in Eastern Kentucky as well. Legend in OVW here in Eastern Kentucky. You've done it. Yeah.
Legend in my own mind.
Nah, man, you're a legend for sure, man. Especially here in Eastern Kentucky wrestling. You're probably the biggest name. You are the biggest name.
Oh, I don't know. I appreciate that. That's high praise. I don't know, but I always try.
Definitely, man. Definitely appreciate you taking the time out of your busy day to do this.
No problem. Always good to talk to you, Seth.
Absolutely, man. It's fun to talk to somebody that loves wrestling, man.
Oh, listen, absolutely. It's been a passion of mine since I was old enough to walk, pretty much.
Definitely, man. Now, you did fight one show for Impact. I'm not sure what year that was.
Well, I don't want to date myself, but I will. This would have been in November of 2003. Actually, you were in diapers probably at that point. But
I was 5.
they had they had been opened. I want to say maybe a year, and they've been promising me to. They've been the guys I worked with around. I wrestled around Nashville every weekend for a couple of years. That was my main territory that I was working at the time, and they kept promising me to get me. They were going to get me on, or going to get me try out this, and then finally ended up getting one through a friend of mine named Jim White, who was actually Jerry Lawler's first tag team partner in Memphis. And Jim was a veteran that was living in Manchester and kind of taking an interest in me, and he called Jarrett himself, and Jarrett told him when to have me down there. So went down, did it, wrestled a guy named Ashley Hudson, who actually ended up filling in for one of the Bushwhackers when I think it was Butch got sick, and Ashley Hudson was originally from New Zealand, like those guys were, and he was a phenomenal talent. Not sure what he's doing now, but he was a A-level talent. So I did my match at TNA with him.
Definitely, man. A lot of people can't say that they fought in the original TNA too.
Yeah, I mean it was about a year old, I guess, maybe a little over a year, and it was the Nashville Fairgrounds. It was what's referred to as a dark match, which is a match that happens before the pay-per-view or before the TV taping or whatever. So TNA used to do instead of doing a weekly television show, they did a weekly pay-per-view every Wednesday night. So I went down, and they always have two dark matches then, so I did one of those two dark matches right before the opening match, actually, before the pay-per-view.
Definitely, that's really cool, man. And I know you've done some shows for OVW as well here in Eastern Kentucky. I actually watched you as a little kid at
Uh,
North Central. I ain't gonna say the year though.
that would have been probably what, 2011 or 12.
2011. Yep.
Yeah, that that gets farther away every day. But yeah,
I didn't want to do that to you.
Hey, listen, it's okay. I'll be 50 in 2 months, so I've made my peace with that. I got $2 and a wife that remind me every day that I'm getting ready to turn 50. So talking about the glory days, if I ever had them, I always enjoy doing that.
Definitely. And did you fight with Al Snow any in OVW?
Um, I did not. That was Al bought that a little later on, and I did actually wrestle Al Snow for AMW back wow. 2017, maybe, I think. So 17 or 18, I can't remember now. It's kind of all blurred together now. But I wrestled Al Snow in like a 4-corner tag match, and when I actually won the AMW belt. It was me and Al Snow and Stan Sierra and a guy named the Progressive Liberal, Daniel Richards. I know you're probably familiar with him. He was big news across the country there for about 15 minutes.
Yeah. He's a good heel.
He is. It is a very unique situation, especially at that time, because he was a heel here, but he would have probably been a baby face in California.
Or Lexington.
Because of the lay of the political landscape, I guess. We had a really good time with that. Dan's a great guy, regardless of what anybody might think of his politics. I don't personally care myself, but really great guy and a good solid hand in the ring.
Yeah, I seen that on the news. That was a funny gimmick.
Here's the crazy thing. It was not a gimmick. I mean, he is hardcore big blue wave or whatever crap it is they're peddling these days. He was hardcore. He was all about it. It was and that's what they say in wrestling. Your best gimmick is you turned up to 10, and that's what he was. And he's legitimately, like I said, whatever you would want to call him, a Biden believer or Hillary hooligan or whatever you want to. That's what he was.
Yeah, that was hilarious though, man. And he got some heat here in Eastern
Oh,
Kentucky.
yeah, he good. Especially the older generation, man, hated him so bad, and it was good because he was great to play off of. Because we could do like, I know the first time I think I might have been the first guy to actually wrestle him when he came here, and he had that Hillary Clinton shirt on with all her faces and stuff on it, and and I don't have the best opinion of her anyway, so it's kind of fun. I would roll out of the ring and I'd get that shirt, and of course I pretend wipe under my armpit or blow rear end and throw it at him, and people went crazy for that. They loved that.
Yeah, that's good that you guys could work off of each other, and it helped you as well with you being the baby face.
Oh, sure, absolutely. Anytime you've got a heel, usually said I would never have a conversation like this with anybody that wasn't in the business, but it's the sport has just it's kind of evolved, and everybody has seen the man behind the curtain, I guess, or at least enough to know that maybe it's not exactly on the up and up, but it is very real. Physically is very real. But as a baby face, you want to have a heel who's going to have you over before you ever come out of the curtain, and that's what you call having a night off. And Dan was a night off at least, going into the ring.
Yeah, that was a funny gimmick, man. I love wrestling.
Hey, listen, I'm right with you. I don't watch it as much. I actually very rarely watch it anymore. I try to keep up through clips and just conversations. I mainly keep up with my friends on the independents a little more than I do, WWE and AEW. I'm just trying. I got a lot of guys, a lot of friends of mine that are obviously younger that I'd really like to see make it. So I'm kind of always watching them and seeing what they're going to do.
Definitely, AMW has some talent as well.
Oh, absolutely. They got a great roster, and they finally started. I talked to the owners a couple times. Guys, a lot of our talent in AMW was older talent, and to stay relevant in the I wouldn't say business for this aspect of it, but to stay relevant in the business, you got to keep it fresh. You got to have new guys. You got to bring in guys or maybe are a little different from what you've had in the past, and they're starting to do that. So they're really taking a big step forward at AMW right now.
Definitely. Um, they got some. They do have a good young roster, and it Marty Clay,
Yeah, Marty Clay. Marty actually played basketball for me at Breathitt.
aging yourself.
I'm aging myself every day. So Marty graduated in 2019, and Marty's a guy kind of like me and kind of like you. He's loved it all his life, and he kept wanting to get in it. And he's an outstanding athlete and had a really good build. He was a little small at the time, but he's really packed on some size lately. He's got a big tryout coming up actually. So we're really excited. I think Marty, I don't even think he's 23 years old yet. I think he might just be 22. He is really young and he's coachable and he's athletic. He looks like $1,000,000, and he's experienced, but not so experienced that they can't train him the way they want to in the WWE. WWE wants you to be experienced, but they also want to be able to retrain you in their style, which is a little different than what you see day to day in the independents.
Yeah, definitely. You gotta talk a certain way in WWE as well.
Yeah, and that's something like with Marty though. The thing about Marty, and I'm biased because he's I call him my kid. Obviously, he's
Oh
not a
no,
kid.
he's very talented.
He but Marty has something that if they market it, if they find a way to market it, like Marty Clay is as country as cornbread. I mean, he can't hide it. He can suppress it, but I hope that he don't because I feel like maybe you don't want to come off as a fake. Characters that are fake don't go very well unless you're like the Undertaker and just a next level talent. But like Marty actually what we call noodling or hand fishing. he goes under these big rocks and pulls out snapping turtles and stuff. He is a straight up mountain kid, and people would want. I think it would be an interesting character for people to see, and it wouldn't be a character because it's him, and he could just find a way to turn that up to 10. And I think he's money if they can do that. If not, hopefully they find something that works for him.
Yeah. Are you thinking of like a Lance Cade and Trevor Murdoch type gimmick?
Um, I'm kind of thinking like almost like a Tracy Smothers, wild-eyed Southern boy type gimmick. Which I love Tracy. Tracy is a dear friend of mine. Helped me a ton, and I know Tracy liked Marty as well. But almost like a modernized version of that. You remember you are way too young to remember this, but you may have seen like the old videos in Memphis. They filmed the videos on Jarrett's farm of the young baby faces riding 4-wheelers with their shirts off and motorcycles, and Marty's like that guy, but a modern version. I think Marty's one of those guys. I think the female population would love him, and I think the guys would be like, I'd like to hang out with that dude. And I think guys like that can make money in the industry.
Definitely, man. And it's good to see that we actually have a local wrestling federation here in Eastern.
Yeah. Those guys at Appalachian Mountain Wrestling, they're working hard. They took a little bit of time off after COVID. I think most of the wrestling world did, or at least locally. And now they're back, and the crowds. We did 2 events. I did one at East Perry, which my daughter was in 8th grade, so I did that mainly just to kind of embarrass her. But we did it during the school day as part of their end-of-year testing kickoff, and that was fun. And then we did a live event on a Saturday at West Perry, and drew like 800 people. It was wild. It was a great. I was a mystery partner for Kyle Magnard against Prophet and Zodiac, and it was wild. 800 people on their feet all night. It was a great show.
Yeah, Chance Prophet's another great talent as well.
Yes, I know. Chance is another guy that I've known since he first broke in West Virginia. Chance probably broke in not long after I did. He's a few years younger, which everybody is. But he's a great talent. He's done a lot for the NWA. He's held some titles in the NWA, and he's really well respected and a great dude, really great dude. He's I don't know, at one point, I don't know if he's still doing it or not, but he was a pastor. And there's film of him out there, praying with a fan after a wrestling event. One was maybe in West Virginia, but he's a next level dude, man. He's a really great guy.
Yeah, I seen some show where he was going to fight Mr. Kennedy. I wanted to make that show, but I wasn't able to.
Yeah, King Kennedy, I never met him, but now Chance is a heck of a talent.
Yeah, that was a few weeks back. Definitely would have loved to make that show.
Yeah.
And Chris Michaels, he's coming to AMW, you said in September sometime?
He is coming. I think they've got him there, which I'm not on the show. I'm just kind of being real selective in what I'm doing right now. And they got some great talent there anyway, so they've got plenty of guys capable of manning the ship without me. But I think he's going to be at Breathitt County in September. Chris Michaels is probably for the last, oh gosh, I don't want to age Chris, but probably I'm going to be generous. For the last 25 years, he is. I've always felt like the best wrestler in the state of Kentucky. Chris can do a little bit of everything. I always tried to, in my mind, be a guy that could work any style with anybody. I could wrestle. If it was a fist fight, we'd do that. If it was wrestling, we'd do that. If it was flying all over the place, we'd do that. And because I think that's how the best wrestlers are. They can work any style. And Chris is that guy and has been, close to 3 decades now. So AMW is really going to benefit from his presence.
Yeah, he's fought in WCW and stuff, right?
Yeah, he's in WCW. He did some WWE stuff. He was a real big presence in TNA when they first opened. Chris was one of the guys. OVW used him a lot is what we in the business call a carpenter, and that's a guy that can come in and take another. Like Chris worked a lot with like Randy Orton, John, those guys when they were in OVW. So the carpenter's the guy that you put in the ring with the new young green talent to kind of lead them and show them how to build a match and help get them over. And they used Chris a lot for that. And because Chris, as a wrestler, was far more talented than any of those guys.
Definitely look forward to having him on. Yeah, man. And he's safe to work with and everything. Yeah, that helps your young talent, definitely.
Yeah, Chris actually was my first singles match that let's see, is that right first? Yeah. The first singles match that kind of let me feel like maybe I can do this was with Chris Michaels and Bowling Green, because the first 2 years of my career, I've been a tag team wrestler. Pretty much all tag team wrestling. So then my partner at the time, Eddie Browning, he became head basketball coach at Buckhorn. So when you become a head basketball coach, and I can tell you firsthand, it really limits what you do as a wrestler. And you basically, it's wrestling kind of becomes more like hunting and fishing, So Eddie was doing that. So, but for me, I was still, out there trying to, going to make it, going to get it. And Chris was the first guy that I had a match with. He did for me what I was just talking about that he did for Cena and Orton and those guys. Is he took me and gave me a really good match, made me work really hard, made me push myself, made me keep up with him. And we had a really good match. And after that match, I was kind of like, maybe I can do this. And so I really got a lot of confidence working with Chris.
Definitely. That'll be a good show to come to in Breathitt County. Definitely, man.
Yeah, I think he is he facing Stan Sierra that night?
I think so, yeah.
Hard, yeah. That'll be what you young folks call a banger. Not sure that's what that means. I hope I used that word right. One of those words, you really better use it right, because if you're using it wrong, it may come off completely different.
That might be a younger generation.
Yeah, that's what the kids say these days. Come on now, Seth. What do you mean?
Yeah, it might be a younger generation than me. I've never said that.
I saw it online somewhere. Some young wrestler was talking about having a banger with another wrestler. I just assumed he meant a match. So
who was the MJF? Probably.
No, God, I love him though. He's so good. He is so. I'm not a fan of a lot of guys currently, but that's a guy I can watch. That guy. He gets it, or in what I consider to be professional wrestling, he gets it.
Definitely, and I think he's just being himself, like you said.
Yeah, he just himself turned up to 10. That's what everybody always has told me is, when I was wrestling as a heel, especially, I was able to just kind of get out there and be the, just obnoxious and just just let it all go, and but he's got that down, and he is, he's got the talk. He can talk. His wrestling is top notch. He can do all the flippy stuff that the guys like to do. He just chooses not to, but he can do it if he has to. He can bleed. He can fight. He can mat wrestle. I mean, and those are the guys you want, on top of your company, or my opinion. Yeah.
Yeah, he's good on the mic, man. He's the best on the mic in wrestling today.
He is, to be able to come out there, it's a lot more beneficial to the length of your career to get over with words than it is by taking 1,000 bumps a night.
Definitely.
He figured that out at a young age. Because I think that dude's still only, 26, 27, something like that.
Yeah, he may even be younger than that. I don't know. He's in his 20s, definitely.
Yeah, he's in his early mid-20s. So he's he's changed his body type. He looks like $1 million now. So he's going to be money for a long time, I think.
Yeah, they're calling the bid war of 2024 between WWE and AEW. Probably New Japan would be in that as well. They'll probably all be fighting for it.
It's an indie, doesn't he?
What's that?
Isn't that his thing? He says New Japan is an indie.
Oh yeah, he did say that. Maybe not New Japan. Maybe Impact.
It don't matter if they're an indie or not. If they pay you bills, more power to him. I would. He strikes me as a guy that would do better in AEW because I think he'd have more freedom there. WWE likes to control their guys a little bit too much. Maybe I mean, I can't question it. They're $1 billion company. What do I know? But just from the outside, and it seems like the guys, like a guy like MJF, is going to benefit where instead of giving him a script and a mic, they just give him a mic and say, "Here you go."
Definitely, man. MJF is crazy on the mic. I know they let Roman Reigns say whatever he wants to, and they let Paul Heyman as well say whatever he wants to. But I think
Oh,
that's the only two.
Roman Reigns, and I love MJF, and I'm really a big fan of Roman Reigns, and I've been a fan of his for a while, even when they were kind of like shoving him down people's throats a little bit too much, because I've made the comment and said, except I'm not a genius. I get if I do things, 99 of them are wrong, but he was one of those guys very early on there when he would talk. He's like, I didn't really believe anything because it felt forced, felt scripted, except when he would say something about his family. And I remember telling a couple of friends of mine, like, just give him a mic, let him be himself, let him talk about his family, do something with his family, with his heritage, and he's going, and he's going to be over. And I'm not, obviously they didn't hear that from me. Somebody else was smart enough to see that too. But he's, I keep saying he's money, but he is that bloodline thing is the best thing WWE's done since the Attitude Days.
Definitely, it's great, man. I love it. Did you watch the match last Sunday?
No, I didn't. I saw clips and read about it and stuff, but but it's real, and wrestling is always best when it's based in reality. That's the old saying from the wrestling promoters. Personal issues draw money, and it doesn't get more personal than family. And it's the whole thing. From what I can tell, has been really. And they don't need my blessing or my opinion, but I'm gonna give it since I'm on your show. It's been really well done from start to where they are now. And I don't know where they're going with it. I don't know how they're going to finish up. But for me, it ends up with Roman and Rock at WrestleMania in my head. But who knows?
That would be awesome.
Yeah, it would. Better hurry. Rock's older than me. He better be. They better be getting to it.
Definitely. That it probably will happen. This next WrestleMania, hopefully.
Where's the next one at?
Ooh, I think Philadelphia.
Philadelphia. Yeah. I thought LA would have been a perfect shot to do it. Or if they ever come back to Miami, or if they go to Atlanta, Roman Reigns played football at Georgia Tech. So something like that. There's a few places they could do that, and it would really mean something. So I don't know. I hope it happens, but I hope it happens at a time when The Rock is still The Rock and not just a shell of himself. And I'm sure, I think what is he? Is he 50, 52-ish? I think 52, 53. So, I'm 49 and I know how I feel. So, but he's got a whole lot better training and supplementation access than what I do, probably.
He's in crazy shape.
He is.
Definitely. I agree with you. Hopefully, he's in good shape and ready to go for wrestling. I think they'll have to have him come back like at least a month or two and do like one or two matches before the Roman Reigns match.
They could. The thing about The Rock, though, it's almost like less is more. They did the deal with Cena. They did that a year out, and look what kind of business it did. It's almost, I don't know. I could definitely see them bringing him in for a time or two, letting him squash a couple guys, letting him look good. But at the same time, especially given his age, it might be best to just maybe he runs in and beats Roman down a time or two on TV or something like that. Something to keep his face, but not have him really taking any shots or bumps or whatever. So it's going to draw regardless because it's The Rock.
Definitely. That's going to be crazy, man. Hopefully that happens, man.
I'd definitely like to see that.
Yeah, that would be awesome. Definitely. They're saying Rikishi may be on this Friday SmackDown.
Okay, now help me on this. The Usos are his kids. Is that
Yeah.
right?
Solo and the Usos are his kids. Yeah.
They're all brothers, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. So that's good. And to me, those guys, as you can get in, from time to time, I think it's good. I think it's good for the storyline. It's a chance, to get Rikishi a good payday. I'm all for the veteran guys making money. So I think that'd be great too.
That's just a rumor, though. Hopefully it does happen. Could you imagine the pop it would get if he comes out there?
It would be good. I mean, it would, anything, nostalgia, however you say it. I mean, the people like seeing the old guys. You can't beat them to death with it, But that's why I like even who were like a couple of years ago, the New Age Outlaws had another tag team run, and people loved it because they hadn't seen them in so long, and because they were still, especially Billy Gunn, were still in really good shape. Billy Gunn is just a freak of nature at 59 years old. I mean, goodness gracious.
He's still doing work in AEW too.
Yeah, and he is I keep saying over, but he's over with the crowd, and he's doing that deal with those Acclaim kids, and seem to dig it. So it's really fun to watch, and he is, even at his age, he's in better shape than practically 99.5% of the roster. So if I'm not mistaken, I think he is 59 years old. I could be wrong, but I want to say he's 59.
He's been around forever.
He has, and and you're seeing older guys now, kind of hang around. Jericho's over 50. Dustin Rhodes I think he's in his mid 50s. Even CM Punk is in his mid 40s. Cena obviously has peeled his schedule back quite a bit, but he's in his mid late 40s. Randy Orton, mid late 40s. All these guys are, they draw because people know them and they're stars. I guess that's the biggest thing. Like, people like wrestling, but they love stars. People they'll watch wrestling, but they'll pay to see stars. And that's, that's been true since the beginning of the business.
Definitely, man. CM Punk. I think we talked the night CM Punk debuted on what's that show called? I can't. That Friday night show.
Was it Dynamite?
No, that's Wednesday night.
Rampage.
Yeah. See, I forgot about. They got a Saturday show now called Collision, so that's why I forgot about it.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's a little too much, but I mean, they obviously know what they're doing, so
that's
I think
their C show though. That's
the
C show.
The C
Rampage
show
is the C show. Yep.
Yeah.
So. Collision's the B show and Dynamite's the A show.
Right. That because Dynamite's the Wednesday night show, right?
Yeah. That's their number one show. Collision's pretty big too, though. Their new Saturday night show. They had CM Punk come back in Chicago on that, so they're putting a lot of effort into it.
Yeah, well, CM Punk in Chicago. I mean, other than Michael Jordan, I don't know anybody else that would draw a crowd like that in Chicago. So he is a big star, and right now I guess he's kind of what you would call a polarizing figure in the industry. You've got the CM Punk fans and guys like me that favor a more traditional style that kind of like what he does. Then you've got, I guess, the other side of it, the younger, I don't want to say more athletic, because it's, and I don't want to insult them by calling them gymnasts, but, the faster pace, less psychologically based style, I guess would be the best way to say it. There's not a whole lot. It's more about moves than it is the meaning and the timing of the moves.
Definitely. It is kind of gymnastic like.
It is. I watch it sometimes, and I was a guy like very young in my wrestling career. I could do some of that, and like at times I didn't have a lot of guidance. After when I was 3 or 4 years in the business and the sport, I'd be on shows in this area and be the most experienced guy on the card, and that was I didn't know it at the time, but that was not good for me, because I would just go out there and go 1,000 miles an hour and just worry about what we call getting our stuff in. And then when I would go to a better promotion and work with guys that really knew what they were doing, I had to learn some pretty hard lessons about that's not how this works, young man. And, sometimes, sometimes they would express it verbally, sometimes they would express it physically, but I got the lesson regardless. And so, but as a young guy, you're just so excited to be in there, and you just want to show everybody what you can do. And you're thinking more about, hey, look at me, than you are about, hey, let's have a match and let's make this match make sense. And let's make these people want to come back next month and buy another ticket. And which is which was really what it's about.
Definitely, man. The first guy I remember as a kid watching that was very athletic and jumping everywhere was Paul London.
Yeah, Paul London. He was another guy that's a freak athlete, trained with Shawn Michaels.
Yeah, I was a big fan of his, definitely.
he was a different. I never met him. I knew some guys that knew him. They said he's kind of a different guy, but like a really cool guy, a really good guy, and just a freak athlete to do a lot of that stuff. And I always liked wrestling with guys like that because as I got older or got smarter, I didn't really want to do a lot of those moves, but I could take a lot of those moves and take them safely and protect myself and protect them, and then make it make sense in the context of a match. And I always enjoyed working with guys like that.
Definitely, man. Him and Kid Cash had some classic matches.
Hey, Kid Cash is man, he's a super talent. I had a really good match with him in Knoxville about 2005. Just a real quick match. He was just passing through town actually, and came in. They brought him in specifically to wrestle with me, and he was so smart. I'd actually tagged with him very very early in my career over in Virginia, and he had actually just got back from Japan at the time. So he was he was a well of knowledge. Just had an absolute wealth of wrestling knowledge.
He's a cool dude, man. Definitely had fun interviewing him, man. And I used to play with him in WWE WWE Raw versus SmackDown. I don't know if I want to say the year or age both or so. 2007.
I'm already aged. Everybody knows, so you might as well just keep going. Don't let the cat out of the bag on yourself. Everybody already knows about me. That's what I told. I work out of the gym downtown here, East Main Family Fitness, and I was telling a guy the other day, used to I would come in here and I'd work out, and I'd be like, hey man, how's it going? How you doing? And then I went through a phase where I'd come in and when I say, oh, hey, how's your dad? And now it's kind of like, hey, I used to work out with your grandpa.
Hey, how's your grandpa?
I've been at it a while, I guess.
That's when you know you're getting old.
That is true. That's very, very true.
Do you have any Jim Cornette stories?
Not really. I've met Jim Cornette 2 to 3 times. He wouldn't. He couldn't spot me in a police lineup. Obviously, I know who he is. I might have had maybe one conversation in passing with him, but he was a super nice guy. Mainly when he's there talking, I just kind of find a chair somewhere, sit and listen to him talk and tell stories because that's what you should do in the presence of a guy like that. Is just listen for anything that he can tell you that might help you, and then any kind of good story that you can get out of it. But Jim Cornette, is just another guy that's really passionate about the wrestling business, and has been got in it at a very young age. When he was doing that stuff in Memphis when he first started, I want to say he was 19, 20, something like that. So he was a baby, and that was a rough time to grow up in the wrestling business. So he's been through some stuff, and he's seen some stuff, and he sees the business a lot differently than most modern people do.
Yeah, Chance Prophet had a cool story about.
I'd say he did. Chance worked a lot with NWA. I think Cornette might have been there then too.
Yeah, he did a pretty good impression too of Jim Cornette.
Yeah.
Just like him.
Yeah, I'm not an impression guy. I never really have been a really good impressions guy, but I could see that. I could definitely see that. Cornette's a very passionate individual about wrestling.
He definitely is. He hates AEW, man.
I listen. That is actually the only wrestling podcast I really ever listen to is Cornette's, and even then, I just break it up into the clips and I listen. It takes me 30 minutes to get to work of a morning, so I listen to it on the way to work. So we have a lot of the same thought processes about how the business should be. And I don't think he hates AEW so much as he does the mindset that a lot of the people there have about the wrestling business. He thinks wrestling should be presented as an athletic contest, which I do. I don't think you should do anything in a wrestling ring that a fan can look at and say, "Oh, that's bull," or "That's fake." And now you see it with like all these big top rope spots. Like I was watching something the other night, and there's a kid now called what is it, El Vikingo, El Hijo del Vikingo, or something like that.
I think they just released him. AEW.
So, whoever. He's a phenomenal athlete. But they showed a spot of he was he doing the old Undertaker rope walk spot, and the guy had the guy's arm and he was up on the ropes and the guy's holding his arm and he's there. And then the guy just starts jumping up and down, doing all these different things for like literal 45 seconds. And the guy standing there has got his arm, that guy's doing all, and the guy that has his arm is just like staring at him. And obviously, that's a level of cooperation, a whole lot of cooperation going on right there. And you can see that. And then of course he does some big jump and gives the guy some big move, and I don't like stuff like that. I mean, even though it might be impressive athletically, it kind of craps on the wrestling business for me a little bit.
Yeah, it's pretty stupid. Just to be
now, let me back that up and say that if they're paying him good money to do that, then that's exactly what he should do.
True.
Kevin Nash made a comment one time. He said that the best worker is the guy that makes the most money. And if he can make money doing that, because I would imagine he's probably not a great talker. He's not a big guy. He doesn't, he's not built like John Cena. So maybe the flips are what he has to do to get paid. And if that's the case, brother, have at it. I just ain't gonna watch it. But make that money.
Yeah. Hey, you need to look this up on YouTube. Jim Cornette talking about Marco Stunt.
Oh, I've heard, and I agree with him. And listen, and I'm a little guy. I might be 5'9" in my wrestling boots, and but when I'm in shape, I'm 210, 215 pounds. This guy, my daughter was a cheerleader at the University of Cumberland at 5'1" and 80 pounds, and he's not much bigger than her. And it's just insulting. It's an insult to believe that he could beat any normal sized man or a woman for that matter. And it is. I mean, again, in his defense, if he can get paid, if that's how he's going to make his living, then that's what he needs to do. I'm for anybody that can make a living in the wrestling business. Do whatever you feel like you need to do. But for me as a fan, I would, I'm not watching that.
Thank God they released him.
I hope the kids do well. I mean, he was funny. Was a musician. I actually heard some of his some guitar playing and singing he did. He was actually a decent musician. So a lot more believable as a musician than a wrestler.
True. But they had him fight Brody Lee, and it was awesome.
Yeah, and I'm sure Brody Lee probably sold for him and took moves from him. And Brody Lee, what was he, 6'6", 6'7", 300 pounds?
Yeah, I mean, it's pretty much a squash match, so.
Well, and that's how it should have been.
Definitely. I think he got like a kick on him or something, like jumped off the rope and then kicked him a little bit. But it was pretty much a squash match.
Well, that's what it needed to be. But listen, I have, even if I don't like their style or I don't like their wrestling, I don't know anybody that I don't like personally in the wrestling business, but if they've got the guts enough to go out there and try to make a living doing it, I'm for them, because it's a very hard living. It's an extremely difficult business to make a living in. So anybody that can do that, I've got really, even if I don't like their style, I've got a lot of respect for them being out there doing it.
Definitely. And I got one last question for you. It's not about the wrestling business, but it's about something else that me and you both love, and that's basketball, man. I know you're the new head coach. Well, you was the head coach last year, right, at Leslie County?
Yeah. I just finished my first year, and we just finished summer basketball up a couple weeks ago.
How's that been going?
It's going great. I've been very fortunate everywhere I've ever worked to work with really good administrators and coaches, and kids have always been great, and in most cases parents. But Leslie County is wonderful. Everybody over there is first class. They want the kids to do well. They want the programs to do well. They're very supportive, and we've got administration that's just that's second to none. They really go out of their way for us.
Definitely, man. Excited for basketball season to start. I don't want the summer to end though.
Yeah, we don't want to wish our lives away. Wish our lives, especially at my age, right? We don't want to wish it. I don't want to wish any more days away. But yeah, I'm excited for next season to get started. We're still going to be a little bit young, a little bit inexperienced, but we're making good steps. I know you guys over around Knott County way got to be pretty excited
I don't know nothing about high school basketball anymore.
Okay, so you got a loop on high school basketball.
I'm
You
too
you
old, man. I asked that question from my buddy Harvey Harris. He's a Knott County Central super fan.
Hey, well, listen, he's got to be a happy guy right now. Casey's doing a heck of a job over there, man. They're going to be really good.
Definitely. Yeah, I mean, I cheer for them. Hopefully they do well. Hopefully you guys do well as well. I don't know too much about high school basketball. Um,
Yeah.
I've been out for 6 years.
Well, yeah. You're still wet behind the ears. You ain't got nothing but time. But high school basketball in Eastern Kentucky is unlike anywhere else in the world. It's so much fun to be involved with it. It's insane and it's crazy at the things that you see and hear, and sometimes the stuff that actually does happen is way more unbelievable than the stuff that you hear. But it's never a dull moment, man. And I love coaching basketball in Eastern Kentucky. There's no place like it.
Definitely. I mean, we just seen Marquise Noel go crazy in the NCAA tournament.
Yeah, I mean, there you go. He was at Cordia there for I think he was in seventh grade, and when
Seventh
I
and
was
eighth grade.
was he there both years? I couldn't remember.
Yeah, I played against him. I
Um,
was a grade above him.
he was there, I think, in seventh grade. We played Cordia at Buckhorn, and we beat them, but he was in the seventh grade. Him about 5'2". He was maybe about 5'4", 5'5", but he was a handful. We had that we were pretty young ourselves. We had mainly they've been 14, 13. We had mainly sophomores and juniors. But he was a load, and I ain't gonna lie to you. When he left and didn't come back, I was tickled to death. Because I don't know what we would have done with that kid in the 14th region for the next 3 or 4 years. Because he was that good even at that age.
He would have took over, man. He would have been the best player in the region, in my opinion.
Yeah, I mean that would have been. That would have been. Gosh, what a great time for basketball! Because we had Cameron Justice here, Braxton Beverly here, Evan Hall. Those the rest of those kids. Not that was during Knott County's really good run for those 4 years with BB King, Coach King.
I'll take that statement back. Then Cameron Justice was the best player in the 14th region, even if Noel played.
Cameron Justice is the best shooter I've ever seen. I used to just watch him warm up. We would be ready. We would be getting ready to play, and I just watch. He didn't even miss in warm ups. It was crazy. I mean, he is the best shooter that I've ever seen, and it might not be close.
True. Hey, they also had a good 3-point shooter, Andrew Strum. He could shoot it too, man.
Yeah, yeah. Remember him? They they just had a really good 4-year run there. Starting with Zach Davis's senior year, they actually beat us in the regional finals in 2012 in Zach's senior year. And Zach, I've always been a big Zach Davis fan. I think a lot of his dad, Kevin. But Zach was a tough kid, man. He had a lot of knee trouble, played through a lot of pain, and just had a real strong drive to win. And I was always impressed with that from him, especially. But that was a good team. They had a great run. They had Simon Christian and Evan and Chance Cornett and of course Cameron. Seemed like they had Seth Adams maybe there.
Yeah, yeah.
David, I think it's David's boy, isn't it? If I'm not mistaken, David Adams' boy.
Yeah, it is. Yeah.
Could really shoot it well, and of course they ended up having Isaac Caudle a little later on, and Austin Combs, and just I'm sure I'm forgetting 2 or 3 guys there, but that was a heck of a run they put together for those 4 years with obviously with Coach King, who passed away, last year, but was a friend of mine and a guy that I really looked up to a lot. So it wasn't a fun time to play them, but it was a fun time to be around.
They definitely dominated, man.
They did. They 4 straight regional titles. And the funny thing about that was, they beat us to win their first one. And then after they had their 4-year run, we actually won the next region. Buckhorn did. So we kind of started it and ended it. We kind of
Austin Morris.
So, yeah, Austin Morris. Oh, what a great kid, Austin Morris. Oh, I love Austin Morris. I wish everybody in the world was like Austin Morris. He was so easy to coach and such a good kid. Man,
I played high school ball with him.
Okay, Austin. That was a funny story. So how we ended up with him. he had come. I guess he was getting ready to graduate from you guys, and he came over and wanted to play high school, and he was a senior. And we're like, well, man, there's nothing we can really do. And then we kind of looked at his transcript, and the curriculum you guys went through there, is mostly Bible classes, which is great. Everybody should have Bible classes, but they don't count on the high school curriculum. So he really only had enough high school credits to be a sophomore, and he had just turned 16, and they had never had like English 2 or geometry or U.S. history. So we called KHSAA and sent all the information. They said, make him a junior next year and let him play. So we got him for 2 years, and man, he was so wonderful. I can't say enough good things about Austin Morris.
Definitely.
So humble, really humble kid.
Definitely, man. Definitely appreciate you being on, man.
Oh yeah, always a pleasure, man. You know me, I don't care to talk.
All right, man. This has been an interview with John Noble. Appreciate him being on. Appreciate you guys listening. It's been a Sets Daily Podcast here on WBLE, Central Ohio's Classic Hits. Everybody have a good night and God bless.